Welcome, everyone. So glad you're here for today's explainer, because honestly, we're about to unpack a concept that is literally a game changer for how we look at our daily choices. We're talking about the architecture of accountability. Specifically, we're going to dismantle something called the comfortable lie. Look, we all do it, right? We all have those perfectly logical, seemingly harmless reasons we give ourselves for not doing something. You know the ones. Why we skipped the gym today, why we pushed that big project to next week, or, why we completely avoided that super awkward conversation. But what if I told you? Those perfectly reasonable excuses? Yeah, they're actually just really elaborate, carefully constructed self-deceptions. It's kind of wild to think about. Today we're going to break down exactly how these excuses function behind the scenes, why we build them in the first place, and, absolutely crucial here, how we can tear them down to unlock what we're actually capable of doing. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the comfortable lie. So we really need to start by looking at how our excuses actively masquerade as these valid, comforting reasons, mostly just to protect our delicate self-image. Listen to this quote for a second. Excuses are nothing but comfortable lies. They feel good in the moment because they let us off the hook. This right here is the absolute core thesis of our source material today. When we make an excuse, we're essentially just lying to ourselves. It's like a cozy little escape hatch from responsibility. And it feels incredibly good in the moment because, bam, the pressure is instantly gone. We tell ourselves, oh, I can't do this, or I'm just not capable of that. And suddenly the burden of even trying just vanishes. But here's the critical truth the source highlights. That comfort, it is dangerously short-lived. What we're actually doing is masking a really deep-seated fear of failure. Deep down, we absolutely know these stories aren't the whole truth, but we use them anyway to hide from the hard stuff. Now, what's really interesting is how that plays out over time. Let's look at section 2, the cycle of inaction. So, the text defines the comfort zone exactly like this. It's a safe feeling state where we avoid hard stuff and responsibility, but ultimately where nothing grows. Notice that very last part, where nothing grows? That is the real danger here. The problem with these comfortable lies is that they keep us completely stuck. They build this invisible wall around us, creating a total illusion of safety. Inside that little bubble, we don't have to face our fears, we don't have to sweat, we don't have to risk falling flat on our faces. But the massive trade-off for that fake safety is our own personal growth. By avoiding the discomfort of challenging ourselves, we literally hit the brakes on our progress. And here's exactly how that comfort zone shows up in our day-to-day lives. What the source calls the trap of tomorrow. Let's break down the hidden costs here. First off, saying I'll start tomorrow is just way too easy. It gives you this quick little dopamine hit of making a plan, but without actually requiring any effort today. It's a neat trick our brains play on us. But tomorrow never actually comes, right? It's just a perpetual delay. The craziest part, though, is what's happening underneath the surface. Every single time we lean on one of these excuses, we're secretly reinforcing this idea to ourselves that we can't, or maybe just won't, do any better. We're literally voting against our own capabilities, and that creates this continuous, brutal cycle of inaction and deep self-doubt. Sure, it feels perfectly safe in the moment, but ultimately, it totally derails us from achieving our goals. So how do we get out? Well, it takes a massive shift in perspective. Which brings us to section 3, translating your excuses. And this brilliantly illustrates that exact shift I was just talking about. On the left, you've got your classic comfortable lie. I don't have time. We say it all the time, right? It makes it sound like you're just a helpless victim of the clock, like these external forces are physically stopping you from getting things done. But look at the translation over on the right. I'm not making time. Oof, that is the uncomfortable truth of our priorities. Time isn't just something you magically find lying around on the sidewalk. It's something you allocate. When you translate your excuse like this, you're taking ownership. You immediately shift from being a passive victim of a busy schedule to being the active architect of your own priorities. Let's look at another classic translation from the text. On the left, I'm too tired. Again, sounds incredibly valid, right? Like a legitimate physical limitation. Gets us off the hook instantly, no guilt. But check out the reality check on the right. I don't want to push through this. The source points out that underneath this supposedly overwhelming fatigue is very often just an unwillingness to put in the effort. It's not that your body literally cannot take another step, it's that your brain is just choosing the path of least resistance. Recognizing that difference, really being honest about it, is absolutely vital for breaking out of that comfort zone. So let's talk about how to fix it. Section 4, breaking the cycle. So the crucial point here is, what do we actually do with this newfound awareness? We have to move from just understanding the problem to actually fixing it. We got to choose reality over comfort if we want to build genuine confidence. And the text gives us these incredibly actionable, beautifully simple steps to break the cycle. Step 1, pause when an excuse pops up. The very second you feel that familiar urge to say, I can't, or I'll just do it later, stop. Just stop. Catch yourself red-handed. Then move to step 2 and ask yourself the really hard question, is this really true or am I just avoiding something? Just let that sink in for a second. Is it really true? You've got to challenge those thoughts. Try to figure out if there's a deeper reason, like, say, a hidden fear of failure, that's secretly pulling the strings. And finally, step 3, start small and face reality. Look, you don't have to conquer the entire world today. Just tackle one single excuse and take one small step forward. Now, I really want to emphasize this next point because it's so important. It is not about beating yourself up. It's about being real. Dropping your excuses does not mean you suddenly have to be this flawless, perfectly productive machine. Everyone messes up. We all face challenges. The goal here isn't to make yourself feel guilty. The goal is honesty. It's about having the guts to own the truth, gently calling yourself out, and choosing to face reality, even when it kind of sucks. Because doing that, taking those tiny steps forward in the face of discomfort, that is exactly how you build unshakable confidence. Which brings us to the end of today's explainer. And I want to leave you with this final lingering thought. What could you achieve if you stopped lying to yourself? The source material makes it pretty clear that excuses are just cozy little lies we use to stay comfortable. But the really inspiring truth here, you are capable of way, way more than you think, the minute you stop hiding behind them. Take a moment today to reflect on your own comfortable lies. Strip them away, face the raw reality underneath, and just see what happens when you truly hold yourself accountable. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you in the next one.